Hello, investors. It's Don Vandenbord, Chief Investment Officer with Revere Asset Management. Today is Monday, June 16th, 5:41 p.m. Eastern Time, coming to you from St. Augustine Beach, Florida, with tonight's Revere Roundup Daily Market Insight video. This will be my last video for a while. I've got a vacation scheduled starting later this week, but you will be in the very capable hands of Ted, Connor, and Todd. They'll be handling the videos for the next 2 weeks. So, state of the market, we're in an uptrend since the follow through days on April 22nd and 23rd. Check the trend gauge over here. We've got the green grow arrows for market leaders, and what a great day leaders had today. Short term, all the major indexes above their 21-day exponential moving average. We've got a green arrow there. Same with the 50-day simple moving average. That's our medium term trend indicator. We are still mixed on the long term 200-day moving average. So, what happened today? A lot of fear going into the weekend on Israel and Iran. The term that seemed to be thrown around on Wall Street today was contained, as in not a spreading of the war to any other countries or any others strongly coming in and getting involved. Not at this point, anyway. And as a result, we had a futures initially opened lower, but very quickly within the first 30 minutes bounced to positive. We're strong overnight. We opened up about a 0.5%, rallied strongly for an hour after the open, and then just lower highs and lower lows for the next 5 hours, 5.5 hours into the close. So anybody that bought in that first hour, very likely what anything you bought was underwater by the end of the day. But that's what the market does, is seeks to, it's never easy, seeks to confuse as many people as possible. But if you came in with positions, you are strongly rewarded. Here were the numbers: 21 over 21 list, 9 new names on the list. 7 broke to 21 last week by end of week Friday, but easily had 25 candidates vying for those 7 slots. In fact, we cut 2 other ones that were showing relative weakness. So 9 new names on the 21 over 21 list this week, up an average of 2.99%, 19 up, 1 neutral, 1 down. The Turbo 10 expanded to the Turbo 12 for the first time, 7 up, 1 neutral, 4 down. QUBT up 27%. Those 12 names up an average of 5.4%. The Big 8, all 8 of them up, average of 1.51%. The RG8, this is our 8 growth ETF composite that we've developed in-house to keep our fingers on the pulse of the broad growth spectrum. All 8 of those up as well, up 1.93%. S&P 500 got up as far as 1.2%, pulled back a bit, closed up 0.94%. Broad strength on the equal weight as well, up just slightly less than a percent. NASDAQ 100 up 1.4, equal weight NASDAQ 100 also did well, up 1.35. Dow up, but up the least of the indexes. Mid and small caps also up over a percent. Global 60/40 stock and bond up 0.5%. Flagship GROTECTION portfolio increasing its lead over the S&P year to date, up 1.32%. TurboTection rocking it, up 2.38% today, led by SMR. We'll take a look at the new Turbo 12, the new 21 over 21, and a list of what we own in-house as we go through the video. So lots of charts to check out. Let's start with the S&P 500. What we are in now is basically a 4-day consolidation after making a higher high and then reversing, bouncing at the 6,000 level. That higher high was on Wednesday, bounced at 6,000 on Thursday. After hours Thursday is when the initial Israel-Iran fireworks began. We had a down day that day and a close below the 8-day moving average. That was Friday. Today, reclaiming that 6,000 level. So really, we're in a 4-day consolidation. This 59.68 level, which was the prior pivot, pulled back to that level on Thursday and held it. The 21-day moving average is coming up to that level near the bottom of this 4-day range that I pointed out. So that'll provide additional support. In fact, we're using the 21-day as the lower end for our keys for all of the ranges, but the S&P 500 as of right now in a 4-day consolidation. So we're focusing on the lows of Friday and the 21-day moving average below that and the highs from last week. But all in all, a very nice bounce for the S&P today. Broad bounce as well. NASDAQ 100, same situation with a 4-day consolidation. That's the high from Wednesday and the low from Friday. We're inside relative to that level. So that's our reference point above and below. And then similar to the S&P, we've got the 21-day moving average coming up to provide additional support. How about the equal weighted versions of these? Let's go to NASDAQ 100 equal weight first. Also a 4-day consolidation there. RSP is equal weight S&P 500, 4-day consolidation there as well. Let's move on to the Dow Jones Industrial Average, 4-day consolidation also. So really, those are all the large cap indexes, all in the 4-day consolidation. On to mid caps now. The mid cap S&P 400. That's also a 4-day consolidation. Still below the 200-day moving average, though. We really need to reclaim that level, but just one close below the 21 on this pullback. And the Russell 2000. 3 days down, so that's a 4-day consolidation for that as well. 21-day on the bottom, 200-day on the top. So really, those are the key levels that we'll be monitoring for further bullishness or bearishness as the week progresses. That's the major indexes. Let's go to some inter-asset correlation here. We'll start with the VIX. The VIX, after a spike on Friday on the fears, pulled back today, closing at 1911. That's below the long-term average of 19.5. So think about that with everything going on. The VIX is just at the long-term average. That seems bullish to me. We don't predict, however. We just want to see the VIX going inverse of what the indexes are showing, and ideally, we want it to reflect a as close to a 1% range as possible over the next 30 days. Basically, there's a rule of 16. You take where the VIX is divided by 16, and that's your expected volatility out 30 days. Dollar, bottom end of the range, continues to be weak. Did bounce a little bit into the close. It was weak during most of the day, but closed near the highs. That's the dollar. How did that translate into precious metals? Gold pulling back from the top of this range. Nice setup here for gold, but down 1.43%. But that's after 2 days of a gap up on Thursday and Friday. No doubt tied to the geopolitical fears. Gold stocks pulling back as well, down 1.7%. We'll look at silver also. 4 tight closes for silver. Bitcoin got hit on actually 3 down days in a row for IBIT. Collected itself over the weekend, was up today, up 3.5%. So closed right on the 21-day, which is where we needed it to on Friday. And that just consider that being in a 4-day range, 4-day consolidation as well. On the bonds in a pretty long, month-long range here with some very obvious volatility in the middle. But bond prices down slightly today. That's the BND, Broad Bond Index, TLT, the long bond. Prices down, that means yields up slightly. There's the TLT, still in a range though, as well as the 10-year, also in a range. That's our inter-asset correlation. Let's hit the tail of the tape. Mixed stochastics on the indexes. And on the RG8. NASI is overbought, and it hooked down on Friday, but I think it'll hook back up with the strength today. But either way, it's up to neutral and in overbought. Percent versus the 5-day at 42, so a lot of room for that to go higher. I already mentioned the VIX, fear and greed at a 62. There's the news, contained the keyword. I saw it several times in the media. relative to what's going on with Israel and Iran. Israel is saying they've got air superiority as the defenses of Iran have been decimated. And if you're Iran, that's not a good feeling. Keys coming into today, 21 day on the downside and recent highs on the upside. We maintain inside those ranges for the S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Russell 2000. Day count from that one down day Friday to the 4 day consolidation that we'll be tracking. Only one closed below the 8 EMA. We're back above it today. 37 straight days, straight sessions above the 21-day moving average. Let's look at the S&P very quickly so I don't want to dwell on it, but here was the strong move up in the morning and then just that 5.5. This peaked at 10:35 and then just 5.5 hours into the close, lower highs and lower lows. So we'll be looking for some strength uh, coming Tuesday to break that lower high, lower low 5 hour down trend. Of course, we've got the whole overnight to deal with before we even see that. S&P 500 ATR at 1.1, kind of in line with what the VIX is showing us. Sectors today, tech led, CKNY, that's communications, technology, and discretionary. Semiconductor strong, jets and retail as well. Dollar middling up slightly, as I said. On the downside, oils, utilities, healthcare, biotech, aerospace defense, and gold and silver stocks. Onto the portfolios. Just one trade for GROTECTION added to our SSO position at a low risk entry using the 8 for the 8 EMA for this tranche. You can see the holdings there. 6 individual names and some ETFs. 1.36 adjusted beta, 4.83% open heat. Turbo one trade closed Mexico EWW 1.81 adjusted beta, 6.4% open heat or balance at risk. Shouldn't say open heat, I should say balance at risk because that's what the acronym, the last 3 letters of the acronym stand for. But bottom line on the day, strong index bounce inside this recent range. Leaders certainly flexed, showing their strength. Keys for Tuesday, S&P, NASDAQ, and Russell, 21-day EMA at the downside, 200-day to the upside, all in the 4 day range. Let's move on to some stocks. Let's start with the Turbo 12. And we'll sort them by price change percent today. Two big moves higher. QUBT up an amazing 27%, quite a run over the last week. And MP Materials with a breakout of this nice base. They process rare earths. And part of the agreement with China is that they were not going to boycott rare earths as far as making them available to the U.S. You can see the extreme relative strength over the last 2 weeks on this ticker. Next up, Sezzle continues to ride the 8 EMA higher, one shakeout last week. SMR also continues to act extremely well. LEU making higher highs. Some really nice charts here. Dave, harsh pullback on Friday. ADMA acting as resistance today. That's where it ran into it, but still above the 21-day moving average. Lemonade, that cool, refreshing drink in a 4 day consolidation here. Guardant Health tight as well. TMDX bounced at the 8 day moving average. Oddity Tech, 5 day 6 day consolidation there after a pullback early last week. KTOS pulling back from its highs that it hit on Friday, and HSAI tight action for about 3 weeks there. Let's go to the 21 over 21 list, and we'll start with what we own. These are the ones marked with the green flag. Palantir making higher highs, GE Vernova, 2 weeks tight, Hood, higher high, HIMS breaking this range that it had been trading in, 60 acting as a little bit of resistance. Spotify, higher high and then pulled back, and NVIDIA continues to ride the 8 EMA higher since its earnings gap up, shake out, bounce at the 8, and showing some relative strength as well. So those are the six individual names. We also own Bitcoin. Those are the top seven from the 21-21. The next few will be leftovers from last week. Zscaler consolidating after a strong run. CoreWeave consolidating very nicely. When you can say it's still consolidating and up 7.7%, you know it's got two things. It's got a wide ATR and it's made a hell of a move. Tempest, also a carryover that has ants now, up 6, 7 straight days for Tempest. Light carryover from last week, a little move above the highs from last week. Credo got stopped on this below the 8 and didn't take it off because it's acting the way it should have. We would have liked to seen this support for the 8. We'd still be in part of the position, but we obey our stops, plain and simple. NBIS, the last carryover from last week. I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure if this was on the list last week or not, but regardless, NBIS bouncing after a pullback. Vive is new, tight after its earnings gap up. Dash moving out after being tight for 2 weeks. Axon ran into that 800 level going sideways. Net very strong. Uh, Pullback the last 2 days, bounced at the 21-day moving average, regained the 8 EMA today. This has been a very nice run inside this base, and now that it's handled to work off that strength. If it breaks higher, we want to be involved in it. EQT could also have EXE on here, 2 strong days, 3 strong days actually for these oil names, EQT or EXA. They're virtually uh, their charts look a lot alike, and they seem to move in sync. VST, we replaced NRG with this one as it's showing relative strength to NRG in the utility sector, making a higher high. PWR, building heavy construction, moving out, still within the pivot plus 5%, and GDX down on the day. Uh, but the sell off in gold stocks has seemed to have stopped for now. We're near the top of the range in this little over 2 week consolidation. So that's the 21 over 21 list. We showed you the T12 list. That's 33 stocks for your perusal. And with that, I'm going to wrap it. As always, like to hear from you. The email's Don at revereasset.com. The phone's 855 Real Wealth. That's 855-732-5932. We're on YouTube. We're on X. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. Revere Asset. We would appreciate it if you like, share, and subscribe our content. Our flagship portfolio, GROTECTION, and our more aggressive version, TurboTection, designed to grow assets during trends, get the heck out of the way during downtrends. Common sense approach. You apply it to all aspects of your life. Why should your investments be any different? Well, the buy and hold and Wall Street says you can't time the market because you have to be right twice. We display how to. We don't like calling it time the market. We call it trend following over 3 time frames. And when the wind is at our back, go into leading names. That's how you get outperformance. And with that, I'll wrap it for Monday, June 16th. This is Don Vandenbord with Revere Asset Management, telling it like it is. Thanks for listening and have a great day.